Ready? Good. Hello, good afternoon. Hi, you're watching Gregsby Eats. Okay, we're here at Ghim Moh Market and Food Centre to talk about Ghim Moh CHWEE KUEH. This is one of the famous stalls at Ghim Moh, and it sells a CHWEE KUEH. It's Teochew for steamed water cake. And this CHWEE KUEH is incredibly polarizing among people who have eaten it, and critics and so on. People either love it or they hate it. The stall started in 1960 and is currently run by Lee Saba, who is 71 years old. He has been in the business since he was 8 years old. His parents were street hawkers selling CHWEE KUEH in the Queenstown area. Back then, he and his 6 siblings used to help out at the stall, and the family business moved into Ghim Moh Market and Food Centre when it was completed in 1978. When his parents retired, Lee Saba took over the family business, and he currently runs it with his wife and his kids. So come, let's have a taste. Auntie, 4个啊？吃啊吃啊。要。Okay, I'm back from the stall and I ordered the basic 4 pieces for $2. And they gave me some chili on the side, so come, let's have a taste. This is just the kueh with a bit of the chai paw. It's so good. The kueh has a firm yet soft melting texture. It has a great texture because it is carefully handmade every day. They use about 1,500 aluminium molds a day, I believe. But what it unfortunately means is that their CHWEE KUEH is a little pricier as compared to the competition. Only slightly. Taking one more bite. Oh my god. Unlike the sweet savoury chai paw topping, preserved turnip, that dominates CHWEE KUEH stalls in Singapore, topping here has very little sugar, as per what they claim is the traditional recipe lah. So the chai paw mixture seems saltier as compared to other stalls, which is why you notice that they also put on less topping as compared to other stalls. Because anymore and the overall dish gets too salty to handle. That said, if you actually take your time and you take maybe 1 or 2 chai paw alone, right, and you eat it, and just chew on it to the point where the salt gets stripped away, you notice that there is actually a little bit of sweetness in the chai paw itself, very slightly. But the real highlight at this stall is the fact that the chai paw mixture is cooked using pork lard, an ingredient that has practically been phased out in CHWEE KUEH stalls in Singapore. You don't get pork lard in CHWEE KUEH stalls anymore. So the flavours you get here are primarily salt, chai paw flavour, with hints of garlic and pork lard, and some chili if you ask for it. It's very simple but extremely effective and flavourful thanks to the use of pork lard. It gives off this great full pork oil richness and aroma, and it is basically half the flavour when it comes to CHWEE KUEH. That is why this stall is different from other CHWEE KUEH stalls in Singapore, because they insist on using pork lard. When I first tasted Ghim Moh CHWEE KUEH some 20 years back, right, I really didn't understand it because it's too salty and basic and there's no sweetness and so on. But after eating it more and more, it took a few years, I grew to understand what this stall was all about and how the older generation's approach to food was also all about, because it is a different thinking. So if you taste CHWEE KUEH from other stalls, right, you notice that because they've substituted pork lard for some form of vegetable oil, okay, there is a hollowness in the flavour. There isn't that pork fat richness, that fullness, that flavour and aroma. So what I suspect, okay, this is all speculation now, okay? Because when they decided to substitute pork fat for some form of vegetable oil, right, and it actually missed out on all that pork flavour, the stallholders decide to mix sweet chai paw with the traditional salty chai paw. so that it adds more flavor into the chwee kueh. Not only do you get salty, you get sweet as well. But again, I stress, this is just all speculation, okay? The real reasons are probably lost in time, but to me, this line of reasoning seems fairly logical, to me lah. Plus, I don't know whether you guys notice it, but you don't actually get satiated as much when you eat chwee kueh using vegetable oils. It's almost as though you need to eat more of the dish. More kueh, more topping, more oil, in order to get that same satiability level. Read what other people say about other chwee kueh stalls, and the main complaint is usually that it is always too oily. There's always too much oil. But I sort of get why it is the case. You know, it's almost as though the stall holders are trying to give you more to compensate for the fact that there isn't any of that pork richness, fullness of flavour. That's what I think, you know. At Ghim Moh chwee kueh, they don't actually put a lot of topping. Hence, there isn't too much oil. Why? Because there's enough flavour in that little bit of topping that they give you. You get the chai poh flavour, the salt and the pork fat flavour, and at the same time, it's not too oily anymore, and it'll be too salty and too oily, of course. So it's kind of like a win-win situation lah. But of course, because people are used to what chai poh stalls give out today, big amounts of chai poh and so on and so forth, you find people complaining on the internet about how stingy the amounts of chai poh are, and that they will boycott this stall forever. So what I think is that it is just a big misunderstanding, that it is old versus new thinking and so on and so forth. So before I go on rambling some more, right, trying the chwee kueh with some of the sambal chili. If you eat the chili alone, you'll detect spiciness, the flavour of the chili pepper, bit of sourness to cut through the oil richness, and that's it. Okay, done. Now if you notice, right, this is the only chwee kueh stall, at least for me, that I actually avoid putting on too much chai poh onto the chwee kueh itself. You really have to moderate how much chai poh you put on it. You put too much, it's going to be too salty. You put less and it actually balances out very nicely. Less is more in this case. You just need to be very, very careful and recalibrate how you eat this chwee kueh lah. That's it. You're eating a chai poh alone. Super salty but damn choke. So that was a very long, convoluted look at the simple dish of chwee kueh, and in this case at Ghim Moh chwee kueh. As I said, this stall is incredibly misunderstood, but fans of the stall, they will get what the stall is trying to do lah. So would I travel half across Singapore to eat here? A definite yes. Despite the very lackluster user reviews you find on the internet lah. This is the only chwee kueh stall that uses pork lard. The only one in Singapore, okay? And it makes for such a wonderfully flavorful, fragrant chwee kueh that it really is top of its class lah for me. And the fact that the stall has stuck to its guns, okay, and it hasn't compromised despite current trends is actually quite admirable lah. I mean, face it, they could have very easily omitted the pork lard and gone halal to widen their customer base, but they didn't. Why? Because doing so would have changed the dish into a different dish lah. And the original taste would have been lost for good. So, thanks for watching another episode of Great Speed Eats, where I eat through the whole of Singapore. If you like this episode, give a like, subscribe and comment below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.